While I was in high school, I would say I was, you know, AB honor roll. Stayed out of trouble. Did a lot of different extracurricular activities. I know I was in Air Force Junior ROTC, building up my leadership certificate so that once I hit 12th grade, I could just graduate and go straight off to the Air Force. So, that's what I was working on in high school from ninth grade, 10th grade, and up. I had my son in 12th grade. I met his father. It had to be like the second semester of 10th grade. I mean, I was just nervous. Once when the baby was conceived, he broke up. We broke up that same night. And I was just left to think about, okay, what is it that I'm gonna do? How am I gonna tell my family that I'm pregnant? What can I do to get rid of the baby if I decide to get rid of the baby?
Being take one.
Being a teen mom. What happened was, I think it was October of 2014, maybe. The night I got pregnant, his dad was kind of just like, "Oh, okay, well, you know, I think we should just break up." And I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "You sound like an idiot." I was in school one day. I was talking to a close friend, and I was just asking her if she had a pregnancy test, and um, I went and I took the pregnancy test at school, and somehow it just got all out, before I could even announce it. I mean, now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not upset. But then I was like, okay, I'm trying to hide the baby. I'm trying to make sure I still want the baby before I let the word get out that, I'm pregnant. I don't want it to be, oh, she's pregnant and oh, now she ain't got the baby no more. Or, depending on what could have happened at that time. I kind of kept my distance from him during the pregnancy. He gave me the money to get the abortion done. However, I made it to the abortion clinic. But me being a 16-year-old, I need a parent or guardian to sign for me to have permission to get an abortion. My mom was in Florida, and my dad was nowhere to be found. So that's how I couldn't get that done. I mean, at that time, I didn't really want an abortion. However, I was still thinking about, okay, I'm young, I'm 16, I have goals, I'm trying to go to the Air Force. It's either the baby or my dreams. I decided to stay in school because I felt like I had already gotten so far ahead that I wasn't finna quit right at the finish line. So I was just like, I'm gonna have to just be pregnant in high school. I mean, it is what it is. I know people gonna give me the side eye. I know my feet gonna be swollen walking around this big old high school. I know my appetite gonna be different, but I feel like me having my diploma so that I can at least have that under my belt is more important than me worrying about somebody being like, oh, she's pregnant. I don't care. I lost a 1-year old niece. I kind of already knew something bad was about to occur before I found out. If you're willing to hurt a baby, I know you'll hurt me, 8, 9 years old. I actually lost my virginity unwillingly. He basically just forced himself on me. I was only 14. Losing my virginity once I'm married is over. I guess that's over.
Royalty. The category is Bring It Like Royalty.
Devonta, you gonna stand there and just let this shit happen? Devonta, you gonna stay there and let this shit happen like that? Oh, because I'm gone. You gonna sit there and argue with your motherfucking self, you dumb bitch. Everybody want to turn up when the cameras and the lights on.
Ain't nobody turning up for them. Ain't no cameras. Move the camera. Move the camera. Move the camera.
And there's nothing to talk about, so we good. And on both sides, we good. On both sides, we good.
You don't get to publicly disrespect me and then privately try and apologize.
No, you just publicly disrespected me on live.
Phil,
On a blog.
I responded and I meant what I said.
Responded. You
I absolutely.
Hold on.
Personally
reach
first
out
of
to you.
all,
You had my personal number,
first
right?
of all,
You had my personal number, right?
why do I need to reach out to you? You didn't reach out to me. You said what the fuck you
You
said.
definitely reached out to me when you wanted to.
Somebody died. I don't want you to get distracted.
Oh, Phil died. Y'all
Finish
come
it
on.
up. Hey.
Well, a little bit about my childhood is that most of it was really a blur for me. I want to say because of a lot of traumatic events that occurred during my childhood. So I would say that that may be some type of coping mechanism my brain developed on its own to just blur out majority of my childhood. I lost a family member. I lost I believe she was 1 year old. I lost a 1 year old niece. She was killed by her father. I was devastated. I was completely devastated, and I kind of already knew something bad was about to occur before I found out. However, as a child, I just felt fearful after finding out that a child could lose their life from the hands of their own parent. He raped her, and I believe he shattered her skull with a beer bottle, and something else happened. All I know, it was gruesome and it was terrible to happen to a baby. It also traumatized me to the point where, now I've been diagnosed with PTSD because of those past events that has happened to me. I have really bad trust issues. I don't trust people around my kid. Growing up, I didn't like being around men because of that event with my niece. You know, if you're willing to hurt a baby, I know you'll hurt me, 8, 9 years old. So, I just stayed away from men, kept my distance from men. And I'm still like that now, even though I'm grown. I was just one of those girls. I grew up like a tomboy, so I really hid my body. I didn't really want to attract no predators. I was one of those, I stayed out the way. I dressed like a boy. I don't want to be bothered. Not by no pedophile or nothing like that. Me and my mom didn't have the best relationship growing up. I just recall several times, excuse my language, where I be called a bitch and this and that. My mom, she wasn't really the advisor I was hoping she would be. I got my period at 9 years old, and the experience with that was I woke up, I saw a lot of blood, and I was hurting down there in my yoni area. So I'm thinking, okay, did a man just come and cut me up? Because just a year or so ago, my niece got hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, did somebody just come and hurt me in my sleep? I'm already on edge at 9 years old. Went in the bathroom, tried to clean myself up because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know I was having a period, and that was normal for young girls growing up. And then once I finally got to the point to where I could talk to my mom about what was going on, she just really laughed. She was like, oh, you got your period. I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm thinking somebody just hurt me in my sleep. And you're laughing? I didn't like it. It was just a lot. I didn't know my dad, so really felt more so alone because my mom was already kind of emotionally, I guess you could say, abusive, verbally abusive. And then I didn't have a dad either, so I was kind of stuck. I guess I have to be the one to put my feet down and say, okay, I'm gonna break this cycle. I'm gonna make it stop right here. I'm not gonna continue to pass down abuse down my bloodline and things like that. So yeah, I do believe that it plays a big role in the way the parents have raised their children, but it gotta be a point where you become more aware and say, okay, how did the way my parents affect me? You know, how did the way my parents raised me affect my life? You gotta think about that so that your children's life can be better than yours. When I was about 12 years old, me, my mom, and my older brother, we just suddenly moved to Florida, Tampa, Florida. I would say this happened because of my mom's mental health. She was moving around a lot anyway, just because of the fact that right after my niece was murdered, her fiance was murdered like the very next year. I was very upset. I didn't want to be there. It was just very frustrating. I was in a new environment. The schools were different. The people act different. I was just uncomfortable, and we got into it a lot. We had a lot of arguments and things like that about me leaving because I felt alone already. I didn't, I love my brother, I love my mom, but I still felt alone. So I eventually moved back. I moved in with one of my older sisters, and from there, I went to high school. I had my first boyfriend maybe when I was 14. I actually lost my virginity unwillingly. I was in ninth grade, and I was staying after school a lot for junior ROTC. I did a lot of like drill training and things like that. And one day I didn't have a ride home. So one of the guys that were in the program, he offered to walk home with me because he stayed in the same direction. And he basically took me into these apartments, and then like I'm thinking this is his home. So I'm like, okay, we can stop here, until, because, I just stay a building over or whatever. Yeah, he basically just forced himself on me. I was only 14, so I was kind of like more so concerned about not getting hurt rather than not losing my virginity, if that makes sense. He was very muscular, actually. He was very big. So, yeah, I didn't want to have sex with him. I wasn't even interested in him in that type of way, but I would say I allowed it to happen so that I didn't get hurt. I mean, at the time I felt bad. Like I was really just sitting there just like, okay, let me wait till it's over. I felt uncomfortable. I felt like, okay, well, basically what was going through my head was like, okay, well, I guess my goal of losing my virginity once I'm married is over. I guess that's over. I don't have no say-so now because you already took it. Well, while I was pregnant, I was working at Zaxby's. They just had me all over the shift. They had me picking up the big tea urns full of gallons of tea, even though I'm pregnant. My sister was upset with me. She asked me to leave, put me out of the home that I was living in because that's who I was living with at the time. The same sister that she had a daughter as well that she had at 16, years old. However, she was very upset because she also knew about my path with the Air Force and things like that. So, I mean, I understand now. You know, she was more so upset and disappointed with the decision that I had made. But back then, I was just upset. I was mad because I'm like, you know, can you be a little more understanding with me? You know, none of y'all talked to me about sex. None of y'all. Not my mom, sister, auntie, nobody. So what did you expect from me? Well, my mom had her first child, I believe. I think she said 14, I think, or younger than that. I know she was young, either 14 or a little younger. My mom has 8 kids total. I'm the 8th child, and I'm 22. I'm the last child. I went to my next sister house, and everything was good there up until a little disagreement we had. And from there, I went to a group home. Yeah, I was around other girls that had children or were pregnant. It was a nice experience. They was very helpful. They provided a spacious, safe place for me to live. And they also got me started with like talk group therapy. So I would say that is what led me over to meditation and things like that, because it got me on the path with healing overall. I believe my water didn't really break. Like my sac was like leaking, and cause he was overdue, so he was running out of space in the sac. So it was just time for him to come out. The people that were there with me at the hospital, one of my exes, and one of my closer sisters, and just a lot of people showed up after I had the baby. My dad, my grandma, the father and his mom and dad. And yeah, like after I had my son, I felt drained. Like I felt like my life had just been like pushed out of me. Like, and I think like my postpartum kicked in like immediately after I had the baby. Like it kicked in immediately. I felt I was already in the hospital, just zoned out, thinking like, what I'm gonna do, where I'm gonna stay, how I'm gonna take care of this baby. I ain't gonna get no sleep. I ain't gonna be able to eat. I was already thinking about this in the hospital. It was just immediate because I already knew that I was already on my own before the baby. So now after having a baby, I know life gonna be even more hard for me. So me and my son, we didn't have that close of a connection. I didn't get to bond with him after I had him, so that was gone. You can't really hold a child responsible for how you feel. I was like, I don't have nothing to give this child. I'm stressed. I'm going through PTSD along with depression. I felt like my child was better off without me. I used to write down like I didn't feel like it was no point for me to be here, and several times I'll just wait until I'm completely alone. I won't even say anything to anybody, but I would think on it. Like, okay, everybody seems to have an issue with me. Nothing's going how I want it to. My life already ruined. I can't go to the military. I'm young. Nobody wants to help me. Nobody wants to support me. So I'll just be better off gone. My child can go live with his dad and his dad's side. I might as well just go because I don't have no point to be here. So those were the type of thoughts I was having, and I was having them because I was going through postpartum depression and I didn't even know it. And along with going through that, I also didn't have no support. So that made it even worse. I started just out of nowhere, a sporadic thought just came out. I was like, you have so much more in life you haven't seen yet. You want to travel, you want to do this. So I just got back up. Like, that has been what has saved me several times, I would say. Maybe an angel, somebody, always comes in and stop me and make me think about the abundance in life as opposed to the lack. Back then with postpartum, I just bottled it up. I didn't really know what was going on with me, but I just knew I didn't feel like myself. Now that I'm older, I know that I would immediately address how I feel, go to a therapist, and do everything that I do now, like meditate and continue to stay in prayer and work on my mindset, because a lot of people don't realize that what you think about is what you gravitate into your life. So if your life is more so negative and you're thinking negatively, then that's what's gonna be drawn into your life, what's drawn in front of you. So now, I know how to cope with it better in multiple different ways. Well, 12th grade, after I had my son, I got back in like October. So I was already 3 months behind in school, but I graduated. I had to take online courses, stay after, but I still graduated. I just did what I had to do to complete my goal. And after the baby, they just, I just allowed him to go with his dad and his dad, mom, and dad and all that. So, I feel like he just made the best out of it. But he enlisted into the military like a year after I had my son. So he wasn't really there, like around like I was raising him. But, he pop up here and there, buy stuff here and there. But that don't make, dad. I just really feel like he was a narcissist, and he didn't want a woman to have more than he did. And he saw me and he saw my potential. So he said, okay, let me impregnate her. Let me go to the army. Let me not marry her. Let me try to make her life harder than what it already is, being that she don't have that much support and her family puts her out and all this and that. So I saw who he was. I saw that he was my enemy. But I saw it kind of, late. And sometimes I do have my moments where I be like, I regret it. I regret it that do you not know how much mental, emotional, physical, like, stress is put on you to take care of somebody else outside of yourself, and you're not even done growing. You're still growing up to be a young woman. You still learning how to take care of yourself. So now you gotta put yourself second and try to figure out how to take care of this other being. And you're not even done learning about yourself and taking care of yourself. It puts a lot of mental strain on one person. Now I know that I can be a single mom. And now I feel better being a single mom. Like back then I thought I needed a male figure just to raise my kids. Like I thought it was a necessity, like it had to happen. Like it was either that or I don't want no kids. But now I feel sufficient enough to handle my own plus them. For any teen mom right now who's having a hard time, I would just say be strong and keep your head up to the sky, because you're gonna reach the top of the mountain very soon.
I just want to say this. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
You did an
you.
incredible job.
Thank
I've
you.
known you for